May Allah's peace and mercy be upon you. In the episode, Caught You, we discussed this claim.
Therefore, there are defects in creation. You will even find defects in the structure of humans and animals. You may think, may Allah forgive me. Yes, there are defects, and till now, none of them have been proven to be otherwise.
We mentioned that such claims include a logical fallacy called shifting the burden of proof. The burden of proving that randomness and unintentionality can bring about such design and precision in organisms falls on them, not us. Moreover, they cling to what they claim are defects, then ask you to prove that they are not. We showed in detail how it is becoming increasingly clearer through true science that what they call defects in the design of the retina, the extra appendix, and the vas deferens are, in fact, amazing proofs of mastery and precision. Our examples today, dear viewers, are from the animal world, and the surprises here are even bigger than those of the previous episode. They say, animals have defects and redundant organs, which indicates that they were not designed by an all-knowing creator. What use are wings for flightless birds? What use are pelvic bones for whales? Today we'll discuss wings and leave the unique and amazing story of the whale's pelvic bones for the next episode. Wings in flightless birds. They say,
What are these wings for? An ostrich has wings but can't fly, right? The emu has wings but can't fly. Neither can the rheas. Why is that? The penguin also has wings and can't fly. And Galapagos have wings but can't fly. Of course they can't answer. They'll scratch their heads and wonder, indeed, why? Evolution tells you the answer is easy.
Wait a minute. Before hearing the answer from evolution, I did indeed scratch my head, then took the time to do some research and ask the penguin, is it true what some say about you and me, that we have defects and useless organs? Or is it all lies and deceit? I, for one, found out in the previous episode that what they called defects and redundant organs in my human body was all lies and deceit. How about you? The penguin didn't say, like the poet Elia Abu Mahdi, I don't know, but said figuratively, come with me on this journey, courtesy of the BBC, to learn the answer. The penguin went on, for me to live in the extremely cold polar climate, my body must be full of fat, and to maintain my body fat, I need to fish underwater. But, Mr. Penguin, how can you dive underwater with so much body fat, which should make you float? The penguin answers, see these so-called useless wings? Check out how they function. Watch me flap them to dive through the water at high speed deeper and deeper, just like a bird flying high in the sky. Look how I use my wings to steer right and left as I please. But how do you launch out of the water at such rocket speed? The penguin replies, see these same wings, which they claim are useless, they are amazingly designed. Look what I can do. I can first swim up to the surface and splash around. Do you know why? To fill my wing feathers with air bubbles. This is aided by special glands that coat my feathers with an oily waterproof substance. Look at the tiny bubbles gathering between the feathers. When I dive again, the water will compress my wings and the trapped bubbles. This reduces my body's density, which allows me to reach the water surface at an astounding speed while releasing the air bubbles, just like a jet plane. The bubbles also reduce the friction between me and the water, which facilitates my exit. So with my wings, I dive to earn my bread, and with them, I launch out of the water. Without these so-called useless wings, I wouldn't even be able to live. This is the creation of Allah, so show me what those other than Him have created. Rather, the wrongdoers are clearly astray. We didn't even mention the design of the circulatory system that supplies the penguin's wings with energy, or the special properties of hemoglobin and myoglobin that help the penguin stay underwater for 20 minutes straight, or the bone density of the wing, which enabled diving and launching back up. See how the things portrayed as doubts are transformed by science into new evidence for the greatness of Allah Almighty. We observed this in the retina and other organs in the previous episode, and we see it again in the penguin's wings, which the myth disciples present as a doubt, when, in reality, it is a sign of greatness, wisdom, and ability. What about the ostrich? It also has wings but can't fly. Try to watch a documentary on ostriches and you'll see how this bird, which can run at 80 kilometers per hour, uses its wings as brakes to reduce its speed and make sudden turns during chases or when escaping predators, and how it uses its wings to scare off the animals attacking its eggs, for parading around during mating, etc. Then, after all this, go back and listen to them as they say,
The creationist cannot explain to us why these birds have wings, yet can't fly.
Moreover, dear viewers, note the circular reasoning fallacy as they speak about birds' wings. Circular reasoning is a well-known logical fallacy where the proof of the claimant is the thing he's trying to prove, i.e. the claim is the evidence itself. When these people say that these wings are useless, we ask, how do you determine if they're useful or not? They'll answer, according to whether they aid survival or not, based on natural selection. These wings do not help the animal survive and therefore have no benefit. So, they must have come about by blind chance, not by wise design. Meaning, they assume that the myth of evolution is true and that its survival criterion, i.e. what's useful for survival, is the right criterion. So they conclude that these wings are useless because they don't aid in survival, as they claim, which means there is no intentional creation. Therefore, evolution is true. Circular reasoning at its best. This is similar to saying, I am an honest person, so if I say that I do not lie, then my claim is true. Therefore, I am honest. The evidence is derived from the claim itself. We say, the harmonious belief system, which is compatible with true science and free from your fallacies, tells us that the Creator sometimes creates things for beauty, as he said about some animals. There is beauty for you in them when you bring them home to rest and when you take them out to graze, even if we assume that the wings and tails of beautiful birds like peacocks and others don't help them survive. Let's also assume that you've examined the bird's emotions and sexual desires and proven that wings and tails do not help in mating. It enough that they show any sane person that such beauty must have a creator. So how about when we realize that these wings are not only aesthetically pleasing to us, his servants, and useful to the birds, but also crucial to their survival, as we saw in penguins and ostriches? Finally, dear viewers, I thought long about the title of this episode. We usually explain a logical fallacy or psychological manipulation and give examples of it. In previous episodes, we discussed mixing the myth with facts. Let me do the thinking for you. Address them as children. Shifting the burden of proof. What should we call today's claim? Wings are for flight, and since penguins and ostriches can't fly, then their wings are useless. This is proof that living organisms came about through chance evolution? After what we've learned, what should we call such statements? Are they another example of address them as children, where they patronize their followers? Or an appeal to ignorance fallacy, as they're either ignorant or pretending to be about the body parts of organisms and using their ignorance as evidence? Or a God of the gaps fallacy, where they fill their knowledge gaps by attributing actions to the myth? In other words, since these wings are useless, then what else could it be other than evolution which produced these wings? Or is it a false premise fallacy, where they start with a premise about the uselessness of these wings, then come to conclusions based on that premise, without giving the listener a chance to check its validity? Or is it the circular reasoning fallacy we explained earlier? Or is it the fallacy of shifting the burden of proof, where they ignore all examples of mastery and fine-tuning, not only in living organisms in general, but also in the very animals whose wings they use as doubts? So instead of proving that chance, randomness, and blind selection can produce all this, they shift the burden of proving the wings' function unto us. Or is it darkness upon darkness? I am seriously undecided on what to call what they're doing, so I leave the answer to you. Peace be upon you.